Big fan of your podcast and YouTube channel. I have a question you might want to talk about in your Q&A. Well, guess what, Sam? Your words are my command. I think that's the phrase, and I'm answering it right here. The question is, what is your philosophy on doing weight training and yoga in the same day? I've been experimenting with something and finding that I've been experimenting and sometimes find that the large muscle groups, example quads and a squat workout, can be partially exhausted during yoga, and his form can suffer from that. I've been trying to condition my body to handle the extra load. Do you have any advice or safety tips from your experience? Thanks, Sam. Well, thank you, Sam. I have a lot of experience with that specifically, so I would love to talk about it. When you start to weight train, your body is exhausted. And actually, when you're trying to build muscle, you're literally just ripping apart muscle fibers within your body in the gym. That's all you're doing. You're not gaining any muscle in the gym. You're actually destroying your muscle in the gym. You're literally breaking these strands in half that you want to be connected together and strong so that they can do stuff like move things around and also, I guess, look big and strong. But when the only way you build muscle is after you've torn up those muscle fibers, you then eat food and rest, which heals those muscle fibers. That's why it doesn't make any sense to maybe do 2 of the same workouts in a row. Because let's say you did a big arm workout, your biceps and triceps. When you walk into that workout, hopefully recovered, you're full of power. You can lift all this weight, you feel really good. When you walk out of the gym, do you feel strong? Did you build a bunch of muscle? No, you feel absolutely weak. You can't even lift your bar of soap when you go in the shower. I mean, that's the struggle with gaining muscle mass, is that you need to tear up these muscle fibers, which makes you very weak in that temporary, just post-workout time. And then over the next, usually it's about 48 hours, that protein synthesis happens where your muscles are able to recover. You then eat food, rest that muscle group, and the muscle fibers, they reattach, but with a small link in the middle that's makes it even longer and stronger than it was before. So, what you're struggling with is, let's say you do a leg workout, you tear up a bunch of these muscle fibers, and then you just think, because we think yoga is just like fairies and ponies and just like stretching, which it's obviously not. Yoga is very westernized. It all depends on what studio you go to, but like, think about it. I teach a yoga class in the fitness center at my school. People are coming in there because they think they want to work out. And fortunately and unfortunately, I provide that sort of experience a little bit, but I also get into what yoga really means, which is more of a spiritual development practice where we meditate and we eye gaze, as we did yesterday, where you pick a partner and stare into their eyes for 5 minutes, which is really intense if you do it with a stranger. And we try to open up our hearts to just see our own divine light. But yoga in a lot of places is super physical, it's super sweaty, and you actually have to use strength. So you can't expect to go do a weight training day, do a leg day, and that night or the next day go do a yoga class where you're going to be doing all these standing postures, balancing on one leg. That is not optimal for muscle growth, because those muscle fibers that you tore are trying to heal themselves and repair, but you're just ripping them up again and they're never going to get to grow. That's seriously what happens. So I came into that struggle 100% because I decided to build muscle when I was in the middle of my yoga teacher training. And the year before that, I wasn't lifting any weights at all. I was doing 7 days of yoga a week. I'm just drinking out of a handmade Plantriotic ceramic mug. But yeah, I was doing yoga so much because I loved it. I loved the physical aspect of it. I loved the community and emotional, spiritual aspects of it. It was my favorite. But once I started to lift weights, thankfully I was being guided by a muscle dude that also is into yoga. But he told me, you can't expect to do the same type of physical asana practice if you're trying to build muscle and recover your muscles, because in that period of time, that comes first. The gym comes first, and the asanas, which honestly now my yoga practice is still just as in depth. I meditate every single day. I exercise my compassion and love, and I also do things like certain asana postures, and I stretch, and I get into yoga postures every single day. But what the big difference is I've had to devote a lot of time on my own personal practice rather than going to a studio. Because when you go to a studio, they're expecting that that's sort of your workout for the day. And so they're not expecting to cater to people who are trying to build muscle mass and who have worked out super intensely that same day. Which is why you're going to have to cut back on going to probably community yoga classes at a studio if you're trying to build muscle. That's the fact of it, because you can't just be at the whim of a teacher telling you to get into a posture that's going to go against your muscle growth if that's your first priority. So that's sort of my answer. The way it works for me is that I lift weights, I rip up my muscle fibers, and then if I'm going to do yoga later, physical yoga, because again, meditation, you can do that every time. In fact, I think probably meditation is great for building muscle because it just allows you, it makes your day more productive, and we're going to get into that later in the life hacks, but it just grounds you, it reduces inflammation and stress, and it's really good. But in terms of going to physical classes, you're going to want to start developing your own personal practice where you can do postures that specific day where the muscles that you just worked out in the gym can rest. So I hope that answers it. It's kind of sad, I know, because going to yoga classes are so fun. I love doing that, but honestly, with how intense I work out, and maybe you do too, sometimes you have to make that sacrifice, and it is unfortunate.